So the first thing that you need to do is you need to log into your AWS Management Console, and on the search bar, type in AWS Well Architected Tool. You will see an option here. Please click on that. And once you've clicked on it, you will reach the front page of the tool. As it is mentioned here, learn, measure, and build using architectural best practices. The AWS Well Architected tool helps you review your workloads against current AWS best practices and provides guidance on how to improve your cloud architecture. This tool is based on the AWS Well Architected framework. So we have already covered this topic on the channel, and if you haven't seen that, I would want you to do that first, else you will miss out on some of the important details here. But if you have seen that, then you are at the right place. We can continue from here as well. And if you just want to have an overview on how the AWS Well Architected tool works, then you can also go ahead with this. So on the right hand side, you will see the option to define a workload. So define a workload based on one of your existing cloud applications. And when it comes to defining the workload, you must recollect all that we have discussed regarding the 5 pillars of AWS Well Architected framework. And in your mind, you need to have that vision of how close your application is right now compared to the cloud best practices. And any usage to this is free because it comes along with the AWS free tier account. So if you have a AWS free tier account, you can make use of this for free. That's a very good thing. And when you come down, you will see 3 very important points here: get architectural guidance, enable consistent governance, continuously improve architectures. So, and these 3 points are the reason why we are here. We need guidance on how we can improve the application that we have so that we can continuously improve the architecture to make it compliant. Enough of the talking now. Let's start by clicking on the define workload button. And once you're here, you will get a form where you have to enter the information about the application that you're working on. So this is the workload property. So AWS will be using this data, and you might have some concerns, but this is just so that they can collect this aggregated data from the tool to provide and improve the tool service for customers. And in some cases, if there are individual customers, they may be shared with AWS account teams to support the customers that they have, and in order to improve their workloads or architecture. So don't worry about that. It is safe to use. The first thing that we have here is name, a unique identifier for the workload. So we can give this a name, my app well architected 01. I have given this. And you can also provide a brief description on what your workload type is and what is the intended scope. So I can just write and is going to provide users with product details online. This is just an example. And you can have, and the next is review owner, the name, email address, or identifier for the primary individual or group that owns the review process. So I'll just give my email address here. And the next one is environment. The environment in which your workload runs. So for us, it will be pre-production. And this will depend on the state of the application right now. Most companies do a review to make sure their applications are ready to be shipped, but they get a lot of hiccups here. So please make sure that you ensure that you have the correct environment for your workload mentioned here. The next is regions. So AWS regions, so the region in which your workload actually is running right now or actually intend to run. So you can just provide the region name. So for me, it will be AP South 1, Asia Pacific, Mumbai. The next is non-AWS region. So type the region outside of AWS in which your workload runs. So if you have an on-premise location, you should be entering it here. You can just check on this one and enter the details for your cloud provider or on-premise details. And you can also enter the account IDs, but this is also optional. Based on the workload that you have and the accounts that are making use of this, you can provide the account IDs. And you can enter the link for your architectural design. This is also optional. You can provide the link for that, HTTP, HTTPS or FTP link. And the next is the industry. And this is also optional, but if you want, you can provide this. So let's suppose this is going to be for me, like retail and wholesale, and it will be an e-commerce site or application. And you can provide the tag here. So I can just add a tag like name. So it'll be my app arc review. I can give this a tag, and if I don't want this, I can just click on remove to remove it. and I can then click on next. So you've added all the details, the name, the description, the review owner, the environment in which your workload is currently running or runs, the AWS region that it is particularly working on, and we have not provided the account IDs. The design is also not there, so we have not provided it. And the industry type, it is optional, but you can also give this based on your application, of course. And then you can just click on next. Then you will reach the lenses section. Here you can choose an additional lens based on the type of application architecture that you have. Okay, so if you don't understand lenses in context with AWS is a way for you to consistently measure your architectures against best practices, and it identifies areas for improvement. And along with the AWS well-architected lens that we have here, you can also choose the serverless lens. So if your application has a serverless architecture, and this type of lens will focus more on that. Else, if your application workload is based on the architecture of a software as a service or SaaS, you can use the SaaS lens. And the next one, that is FTR, that is targeted towards the independent software vendors, and it's FT reviews. So you can choose this if your application belongs to this category. So based on this, you will be having questions regarding what type of architecture that you follow. So if you choose well-architected framework, you will be getting questions related to the 5 pillars that we have already discussed. And if you choose additional lenses like serverless lens or SaaS lens or FTR lens, you will get the questions based on that. And each lens has its own set of questions, best practices, and provides you guidance regarding that type of architecture. And it's not that you can choose only one, you may choose all of them, as well as remember to choose only one out of them. So it's not a problem here. And for now, we don't have this requirement, so I'll leave it as it is. And remember, when you define the workload, AWS well-architected lens is enabled by default. You cannot uncheck this. Now you are done. Just click on define workload. So I'll not be using any other lenses here because my application is fine with well-architected framework lens. So I'll just click on define workload. And then you will reach here to the workloads page, and you will be inside the workload that you had just defined. So this is the one that we had created, my app well architected 01 or arc 01. And you see it has been mentioned here that you need to start reviewing. You have unanswered questions, so continue or start reviewing your workload and answer the questions for each lens. I hope you remember I told you the framework will be just like an interview where you would have to answer questions related to your product, and that's what we will be doing here. So you can see here we have questions answered as 0 out of 52. So we have to start answering questions, and that will be our review process. So if you come down, we will see the lenses section. We had chosen only one. So AWS well-architected framework. So we will get questions regarding to that itself. And just below that, if we have 5 pillars, here you can set your pillar priorities by sorting the pillars according to the application needs. So by default, you see we have security, reliability, operational excellence, performance efficiency, and cost optimization. So you can click on edit here, and you will reach to the edit section where you can order the pillars in order from most to least important of this workload. So the first pillar will be the most important, and the last will be the least important to the workload. So let's suppose performance is very important to my application. Then we can just click on the pillar, hold it, and drag it to the top or where we want to place it. So you see I have changed the order. So now performance comes first for me, then security, then reliability, then operation, then cost. So I can change it according to your needs. I'll just cancel this for now. Now there are a few options that you see on the left hand side of the page. That's your sidebar. Just move on to this and click on workloads. Here you will get the details for all the workloads that you have defined, and you can come here and choose the one that you are currently working on or you want to work with and proceed with that. Now click on workload invitations. Here you can see we don't have anything right now, but let's suppose you wish to request for a workload owned by another AWS account to be shared with you. You can do that. And you can as well share a workload with all users in an AWS account or individual IAM users or both. And if you accept the workload invitation, the workload will be added to the workload and the dashboard sections. And if you reject the invitation, it will be removed from the list. Simple, isn't it? And you need to remember that workloads can only be shared within the same AWS region. So make sure that you understand this principle before moving on to sharing anything or requesting for a share. Most of the time we share the workload so that others can contribute and provide feedback, and we can accept it once it is done. Moving on to the dashboard, here you will get the high level detail of the existing workload and the milestones. And milestones are very important, and we will get to that in a bit. So just keep watching. And so let's go back to the workload review here, this section. And when you click on this, you will get the overall view of the workload, and within which you have options to select the lenses that you want to work on. And we have the well architected framework here. So if I click on this, I'll reach to this section again. And similarly, if I have multiple workloads here, then I can do the same. So let's go back. So here, along with overview, you can see there are 3 tabs. So the first one is milestone, the second one is properties, and the third one is shares. So let's check them one by one. So just click on milestones. So this is one of the most important aspects of using the tool, because a milestone records the state of a workload at a particular point of time. So you might ask me, what's so special about this? So let's suppose you are working on a web application and you have finished the first set of features and you wish to move it forward. But when you had taken the design to your architect for a review, he or she mentioned that this design needs a bit of change. And we might have to change the encryption pattern, and we need to minimize the code or the source code in place, which could lead to a bad efficiency in lines of code. So you noted those points down and went back to work on that. And once you're done with that, you came back to your architect and provided him the comparative review of what changes you have made. But how will you do that if you don't have a placeholder in place to track them, or the changes that you have made to track them? That's where milestone come in place. So a milestone will help you record the state of a workload at a particular point of time. So with this tool, you can save a milestone after you initially complete all the questions associated with the workload. So once you have made the changes to your design based on the feedback that you received from the questionnaire, you can save more milestones. So let's suppose I want to have a release like alpha release or alpha 1, alpha 2, then I want to move on to beta, I want to have a beta 1, beta 2, then I want to do a golden release. Then I can save milestones based on what are the questions that I have answered and what are the solutions that I have provided for that. And once you have created the milestones, it will be listed here. So the next one is properties. So here you will find the settings for the workload that you have defined while creating the definition for the workload. You can also make the changes to the status of the workload. So if you see here, we have the improvement status. So you can change it to not started, in progress, complete, and risk acknowledged based on the current state of the workload that you have. Next is shares. So here you can share the workload with other users by providing the principal URL. And for that, you can just click on create. And as you can see, the workload share expires in 7 days if not accepted. So make sure that you get it approved after you have created. So for that, you can click on this create and you will get the option to enter the AWS account ID here, or the IAM user ARN, or the Amazon resource name. And you can select the level of permission that the user has. So they can be read-only, so provides read-only access to the workload, or else they can be the contributor. So this actually provides update access to answers and their notes, and read-only access to the rest of the workload. So let's suppose there is a SRE team that you have, or you have a DB team that can answer a specific question set, or if you have a security team that is willing to answer a specific set of questions that you have, you can share these to them so that you don't have to sit and do all the work for them as well, isn't it? Because you may not know most of the answers related to security if you're working just for development. So make sure that you do that. Now let's come back and let's start off with the review. So here you can see the continue reviewing section has come up. So before going to the questionnaire, if you need other teams or other team members to be a part of this, then please do invite them or share them the workload definition that you have, as you may not have all the answers to this. Just click on continue reviewing. So make sure that your path is well architected tool workloads. This is the workload that you want to work on, and this is the lens that you want to work on. So here you will see, you will be having around 52 questions related to the 5 pillars that we have discussed before. And it might be overwhelming just by seeing this, but if you want to know more about the questions, we have already discussed them in the videos as well. So please make sure that you check them out. So let's start off with the operational excellence. So this is the first pillar that I'm working on. You can just close this accordion. And here you can see we have 5 pillars, and there will be questions associated to this. So you have operational excellence, it has 11 questions. You have security, it has 20 questions here. Then you have reliability, then performance excellence, and then cost optimization. And similarly, you have to fill on all these questions and you have to answer each of them. And then you have to move to the next section. So this is the first question that we have here, Ops 1. How do you determine what your priorities are? Here you can actually find the details about what this question actually relates to. So like everyone needs to understand their part in enabling business success, have shared goals in order to set priorities for resources. This will maximize the benefit for your efforts. So this is the gist of the answers to follow. So if this question does not apply to you or your application design, you can disable this by using this toggle button. So all the answers will be disabled. You can see this, it says questions do not apply to this workload. And some questions may not be relevant to you. So this is a very good option that AWS provides. And I'll be just showing you 1 or 2 examples and the rest you can complete it on your own. And you have to choose the answers that you feel you have already provided a solution for. Let's suppose the first option that we have here is evaluate customer needs. So if you're not sure what it is, you can just click on the info button here to get more details about this. So once you click on this, you will get more information about this on the right hand side. So what does it say is like evaluate external customer needs is, we have already discussed this. I'll just read it out for you. So involve key stakeholders, including business development and operational teams, to determine where to focus efforts on external customer needs. So this will ensure that you have a thorough understanding of the operation support that is required to achieve your desired business outcomes. So let's suppose you already had a discussion with the stakeholders and based on the feedback we have provided the feature set in our application, then this will be a go for us. So just check this by marking this as complete. Similarly, we have evaluate internal customer needs. So you can just click on this to read more about this. And then we have evaluate governance requirements and so on. And there might be a few options that you feel you haven't achieved. So you can just leave it like that. So let's suppose I have not worked on internal customer needs. So I'll just leave it blank here. And I'll fill the rest of the other things that I have provided here as the answer. And there is one more option that is given here. So if you feel the question is applicable, but the options given here are not as per your application's workload, you can choose the last option, that is none of these. So once you click on this, all the answers will be disabled again. But you can still have this option enabled, like question does not apply to this workload. This will not be disabled here. You can just disable the answers here. This might be a bit boring for you because you might have to do this outside of the development work that you do, but this is important for the architects and the designers. And if you are in a higher position, then you might have to do this along with the team. But it's not that you have to complete it in one day. Most of the companies give you time before the compliance. They have a steady state of pre-production. So you can just do this in the spare time that you have, but you have to prepare a report based on which you will get the sign off. So once I have finished this, if I realize I have not done or we have not achieved some of the questions or the answers given here, then I can just come back and uncheck this one and I can just save it again. And once I'm done with all this and I have entered all the desired answers that I want to add, and if I want to provide more details on this for improvement, I can do that as well regarding the questions that have been asked. And either I can just save and exit to come back later, or else I can click on next to move on to the next question. So let's click on next and I'll finish all the questions in the 5 pillars that we have, and I'll make sure that I don't complete them like 100%. I'll keep this realistic so that we can see what actually happens when you create a milestone. So I'll fill this up and I'll be right back. Until then, you can enjoy the music here. Don't go away. So if you are a developer, this question is really important because how will you reduce defect and ease remediation and improve flow into the production? So adopt approaches that improve flow of changes in production, that enable refactoring, fast feedback on quality and bug fixing. And these accelerate beneficial changes entering the production. So this actually is a very important decision making for the development team, where you can make use of. So you have to ensure that you have made use of the version control, you have tested and validated changes. These points we've already covered in the operational excellence part. And if you want to see that, and once you have seen this, you will get a better idea on how to answer the question. So please make sure that you watch those videos. Let me continue then. Okay, so I'm done with this. 11, 11, 10, 10, 13, 13, 8, 8, 10, 10. I can just save and exit. Okay, so based on my questionnaire that I have given right now, I have high risk of 16. So these are risks that are mentioned by the AWS architected tool that your application could be at risk. So these may be high risks that are 16, and there will be medium risks that will be 15 right now. There are 15 right now. So what happens is exactly like based on the pillar priority also, if you are missing out on something that security thinks it's a high priority, then you will get it as a high risk. And let's suppose there is something that is missed out on cost optimization that the lens actually thinks that yeah, it's okay, fine, because it's not your pillar priority, so it's on your highest priority list, so it can just keep it as a medium risk. So it depends on that as well. So now that we know that, and we understand that based on the questionnaire that we had given right now, the high risk of the application vulnerabilities that we have, or the risk that we have, is 16, and we have medium risks that are 15 right now. So we can just save it, save the milestone. So my app, so I can just give it like beta 01. So this is my beta release. So my app beta 01, beta 01, and just save it. So once you have saved it, you can just go to milestone section and you will see the milestone that has been created. You can just click on this and you will come back to the same milestones page. And what we're going to do is we are going to click on the lens section here, and we'll come back to this. And here you will see the pillars and the segregation of what exactly you have answered and what are the high risks associated to each of the pillars, and what are the medium risks associated to that. So let's click on the high risks here. So here you will get the questions and why is it a high risk. So you will get the answer as well. So AWS also provides, or AWS tool actually also provides you the recommended improvements also. So you can just open this up, and this is the question that you had answered, like how do you securely operate your workload. You can right click on this and you can open this right now, and it'll take you back to the answer that you had given. So the things that make it as a high priority is that you have not answered, or you have not successfully incorporated identify and validate control objectives. And the next one that we have is keep up to date to security recommendations. You have not done that as well, and you have not done evaluate and implement new security services and features regularly. So you're not doing that. So AWS architected tools thinks that it is a very high risk. So these are the 3 improvements that they are recommending based on the questionnaire that you have. You can just right click on this to see the improvements that you need to make. So identify and validate control objectives. So I'll just go back to this. So this is the answer that you have not given. So it'll tell you that, yeah, identify compliance requirement. So discover the organizational, legal and compliance requirements that your workload must comply with. Identify compliance resources. Identify resources that AWS has available to assist you with compliance. So these are the 2 links that they provide so that you can read them, and based on that you can make changes to your architecture. And similarly, you will get recommendations for each of the questions that AWS architected tool thinks that it is a high risk. And similar to this, you will have medium risk as well. You can just select on this one and you can come back here. So how do you protect your compute resources? We'll see which question was this. Okay, so the thing that we have not enabled here is validate software integrity. You can click on this to read more about this. So implement mechanism to validate that the software code and libraries used in the workload are from trusted sources and have not been tampered. This is a very important risk factor actually, because it can create vulnerabilities that can affect your system. So make sure that you don't do this, and you make sure that you're compliant with this. So how do you protect your computer resources? The recommendation that you have is validate software integrity. So for this, to validate software integrity, what AWS tells us is that you can use code signing is one of the mechanism that can be used to validate software integrity. So they provide the link for this as well. So you can just open this. This is a software consideration for code signing. You can just read through this and get to know more about how you can protect your code. And based on that, you can just, once you have done this, you can just come back here to the tool and start another review. So what happens is, once you have seen this, you can go back to the workload section. You can just click on the workload here and you can start reviewing once again. So we have created the milestone here. So this is the milestone 01, and I'll go back again and I will continue reviewing it once more. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to complete all of this so that we can have 100% completion state, so that we can see what actually happens then. But in real time, this does not happen ever. Okay. So in IT, we have a saying like improvements are not a destination, they are a journey. So having a milestone actually keeps the journey going unless you don't break something. So let's go ahead with this. So I'll just complete them again by completing it to 100%. So I think that will be good for us. Okay, so I'm done with this. I'll just save and exit. I still have a medium risk. What is that? Amplify Cloud Financial Services. Okay. Save. See, no improvement identified. It's 100% complete. Everything is done. We are on green, green, green. This is fun, right? So high risk, no risk. Medium risk, no risk. No improvements identified. Okay, this is good. This is awesome, isn't it? We have completed this. We are done with our review. So you can go back to this lens section again, and I'll save this. This will be my what happened here. I still have milestones. So okay, still have a medium risk. So I'll just see what it is. We'll complete that as well. Okay, what was that? Oh, okay, one of these. I'll just save it. Okay, and I'll go back. I'll see there are 2 medium risks again. I'll just go back to this. I'll just open this. Okay, just click on this, open this, open this. Okay, save and exit. Save and exit. So now we are finally done, I think. Yes. Questions answered 52 out of 52. Risk 0, 0. So this is what we are aiming for, isn't it? But this would happen once in a lifetime, I think. I'm just joking. It happens. Okay, so this will be my app. Golden Goose. So there's the golden release that we have, where we have 0 high risk and 0 medium risk. So here what happens is, once you are here on the workload section, you go to the lens. In the lens section, you can actually generate the report as well. Once you have reviewed this and you have reached the first milestone, you can just click on generate report. So it'll generate you a PDF or HTML or PDF itself. So you can just save it with the name of your workload. It will generate the PDF file. And once you have saved it, we can just open this once again. So here you see you get a report as well. So it says, and then you will get all the details here. So workload properties, you will get all the details here. Then you can move on. What are the lens overview that you have? Like how many questions you have answered, this pillar, how many questions you have answered for each of the pillars. And based on that, how many risks you have. So now this report actually looks good, isn't it? I want to continue reviewing, and I just want to generate a report which actually has some anomalies. Okay, so I think that should be good. I'll just save it. I'll just remove a few things from here as well, and I'll just save and exit. So here you have 2 high risks and 1 non-applicable. Okay, I'll go to the lens and I'll generate the report. So this report has 2 high risk and 0 medium risk. So I'll generate this report now. I'll open this file. So once you have some high risks or medium risks, you can just go to the improvement plans and you will see high risk operational excellence has 2. This PDF actually has been very well designed so that you can just click on each of the entities to move on to what exactly has to be improved. So this is the first question that has been pointed out to us, that it is a high risk. So you can just click on this one and it will show you what exactly have you selected as a choice and what you haven't selected. And based on that, you will get the improvement plans. You can just click on this and you will be redirected to the page that actually has the improvements mentioned. You can share this report with the design team or the developers that you have, or the team or the architect as well. So this will act as your milestone documentation as well. Based on that, you can justify like, this is the documentation that we had for this type of release, and we went on to make on improvements on the feature set and the compliance. Then you can generate more reports, and then you can share that as well based on the progress that you have made. And that's how it works. Close these things. Come back to this. Save the milestone. My app. Done. Save it. Go to the milestone section. There's a milestone that we created right now. Go to the properties. I don't think so. We were here actually. Yeah. Milestones. Sorry, properties. So improvement status will be risk acknowledged. I'll change it to risk acknowledged. And if I want to share this, I can share it by creating the workload share. So I think this is enough for today's session because we have covered a lot of details here. You can as well try this because this is too much fun to answer these questions, because some of the questions are really interesting and you might be having a lot of fun actually discussing this with the team and trying to understand what actually the state of application you have right now. So please make sure to do this, because this is totally free for the free tier account, or you might be using it from your office account, so it will be free for you as well. And you can just try on by answering these questions and seeing like how the reports are getting generated, how we save these milestones, and I hope this will be a lot of fun for you as well, as it was for me doing this. So that's it from my side today. I hope you enjoyed this just as like I did. So if you did, then please do make sure that you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and please let me know on what exactly you liked and what you didn't, so that we can improve on the upcoming videos as well. So stay safe, stay healthy. It's Pythoholic signing off.